right, and I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar. Hi, everyone. We're just going to give it one more minute to give everybody a second to stream in, and we will be with you shortly. Thank you so much for joining. All right, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started just with a few housekeeping rules. Just as a reminder, if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A below. Also, for your information, the U.S. Small Business Administration does not endorse Public-Private Strategies Institute, and this session is being live streamed and recorded. Also, please don't share any personal information in the Q&A function. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Renee Johnson, who is the Senior Advisor here at Public-Private Strategies.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you all today, and we are more excited because the topic of today's discussion is international trade, and we have some amazing speakers. But before we get into that, I'm so elated to introduce to you all one of the amazing dynamics staffers from the SBA, Nicola. She is coming to you today because the SBA has a great announcement from something that they did this morning with the VP and the Department of Commerce. So I'm going to turn it over to Nicola for this amazing announcement. Nicola?
Thank you, Renee. Hi, everyone. I am excited to be here and to kind of give you all a first look on the reforms we announced today to our Community Advantage program. So this morning, the administrator and the vice president were at Howard University to speak on the extension of the Community Advantage pilot. So it's going to be extended into 2024. Originally, it was set to sunset this September, but we wanted to extend that program and continue to give mission lenders an avenue to make SBA guaranteed loans to underserved borrowers. And we didn't stop there. We're going to lift the 4-year lender moratorium. It was put into place in 2018. And so we are lifting that to allow more mission lenders, more CDIs to access the program, and in order to expand the reach into underserved communities. So we saw in PPP, especially, these lenders really stepped up to the plate and made billions of dollars of loans in PPP to the most underserved borrowers who we know in the first rounds of PPP really did not get the same access that bigger borrowers or more traditionally banked borrowers got. And so these lenders stepped up to the plate, especially in 2021, and helped us unlock PPP loans for those communities. And we wanted to continue to build on that by making sure that they have access to our SBA guaranteed loans through Community Advantage. And not only that, but we're making reforms to the program as well to make sure that once they do get access, that they're actually able to make more loans and do so in a simplified way for borrowers. So there's a number of reforms. They include simplifying program underwriting requirements so that our mission lenders can utilize their already existing underwriting processes to evaluate borrowers and provide them with a community advantage loan. We're also eliminating the restriction that prohibits borrowers with a criminal background from accessing or applying to community advantage. So that is a historic step towards really lifting those barriers and allowing those formerly incarcerated or other individuals to access SBA loan programs. So these are just two examples of the changes we're making. We're also redefining the packaging fee structure so that these community lenders who get access to the program can charge a fee that makes sense and allows them to scale their operations as they scale their lending portfolios through community advantage. And then we're simplifying collateral requirements for borrowers as well. So this means increasing the maximum unsecured loan size from $25,000 to $50,000 and eliminating the real estate requirement on working capital, the real estate collateral requirement on working capital community advantage loans. So these are often barriers that really make it difficult for underserved borrowers to access capital. And we know that by removing these barriers, we can effectively reach these folks even better. And so these are just a few of the changes. A preview will be coming out with more details on the specifics of all of the changes. So watch out for that. The notices will be posted to the Federal Register announcing all of these reforms. So you can check there as well. And all of this was informed by extensive outreach to borrowers and community lenders and trade organizations to get this feedback and figure out how we can make this program better. And they informed every single change on this list. And so we feel very confident that these are changes that are championed by the community and that will allow us to attack this gap in access to capital for underserved borrowers and small business owners. So that is the announcement we were excited to make today. Again, more specific details to come. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to Renee to get to me. And we're excited to see how the program grows as a result of these changes.
Wow, thank you so much, Nicola. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate all the things that this program is going to do to help so many small business owners across the country. And again, to learn more, please reach out to us and we'll have that website and email address at the end of this webinar for you to contact us. Now, let's get into why we're here today. So building a better America. So today's goal is to connect small businesses with critical resources and include information on how the building infrastructure, the bipartisan, infrastructure law, the American Rescue Plan, Made in America, and other resources from different government agencies may provide opportunities to help your business thrive. So these briefings, which are part of the series that are going to go throughout the entire year, are going to help you take steps to learn how to take advantage of existing and new programs at these different agencies, updates regarding programs and recent policy announcements, and then discussions on important timely policy issues. So we're going to talk about paid leave, earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, affordable childcare, hiring and retaining workers, and of course, healthcare and access and cost. So today we're going to highlight three amazing speakers. We're going to talk to Ambassador Vinay, the acting director of the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, also known as USTDA. Kate, she's the head of the U.S. Trade Policy of Amazon. And then Gabrielle, he's the associate administrator to the Office of International Trade at the SBA. And without further ado, we're going to start off with the ambassador. So without any more time wasted with me talking, I'm going to turn it over to the ambassador.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you so much, excuse me, for having me today. I'd like to thank our partners at the Public-Private Strategies Institute, PPSI, and at the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, for hosting this discussion. As always, I appreciate this opportunity to familiarize everyone with the U.S. Trade and Development Agency and how small businesses can benefit from our program. Let me first start off by recognizing Women's History Month. It's a time when we celebrate the trailblazing women who have enriched our culture, society, and the world we live in. At USTDA, we're privileged to work with countless women around the world who are shaping the future and well-being of their countries. As some of you may know, USTDA is a foreign assistance agency that also has a mandate to support US jobs through exports. This dual mission of ours makes it a unique, truly unique agency in the federal government. Our role is to help emerging markets plan and develop sustainable infrastructure using US goods and services. This means that we work with US companies in fast-growing markets like the Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America and Caribbean, the Middle East and North Africa, and the Indo-Pacific region. And we work in infrastructure sectors, including clean energy and transportation, information and communication technology, healthcare infrastructure, and agribusiness. Developing large-scale infrastructure requires a lot of complex analysis from engineers, project managers, technical experts, financial experts, and last but not least, lots of lawyers. On top of this, there is the challenge of knowing the latest technological innovations that are pertinent to that particular project, if you can imagine. In addition, the banks that invest in infrastructure projects want to be assured that the analyses they receive are accurate and reliable. This is understandable when you consider that they may be investing tens or many times hundreds of millions of dollars into a project. Most emerging markets have talented experts, but often lack the breadth of experience required by the banks. In addition, the private sector may not be willing to take on all of the project development risks in developing and middle-income countries. This is where USTDA comes in. We make grant funding available to overseas project sponsors so that they can hire US companies and US experts to plan bankable infrastructure deals on their behalf. I'd like to underline bankable infrastructure deals. Our planning tools include feasibility studies, technical assistance, and pilot projects. USTDA deploys these tools at the early stages of the project development cycle when technology choices are defined and determined. This is fundamental to American competitiveness. By defining the technical requirements for overseas infrastructure projects, we create a level playing field for US firms that want to export their goods and services to these projects. USTDA's assistance generates two important outcomes. One, our overseas partners are provided a bankable blueprint for developing sustainable quality infrastructure. And two, it positions US companies to provide the goods and services that will be required once a project obtains financing. Our program has generated great results over the years. For every dollar invested in our programming, USTDA is now generating, on average, $117 of US exports. Since our founding 30 years ago, USTDA has supported more than $76 billion in US exports across the United States, which includes small businesses from more than 370 communities. So in terms of how small businesses can connect with USTDA. First, they can execute the studies that we fund. Every year, USTDA funds around 24 feasibility studies that are competing among that are competed among US businesses. These opportunities generally range from $300,000 to $1.5 million each. You can find these opportunities on USTDA's website at ustda.gov. I should also note that this is our overseas project sponsors, not USTDA, that selects the winner of the studies that we fund. That said, small businesses are often selected to execute these studies. For example, there is a New York-based small business called Vrinda that helped a Brazilian utility to develop a plan for integrating renewable energy into its electrical grid. Several US companies exported information technology as a result of our assistance, which has helped the utility advance the usage of renewable energy in its service area. In addition to funding competed studies, I should add that USTDA also accepts sole source proposals from US companies. Our requirements are provided on our website, clearly provided. Please go to our website. So let's talk about contracts now. Many of the contracts we fund are valued at somewhere around $250,000, which means that they're exclusively set aside for small businesses. Take, for example, our desk study and definitional mission contracts. When USTDA receives a proposal for an overseas infrastructure project, we contract with a small business to supplement our internal expertise. For example, if we receive a proposal for a geothermal power plant study in Kenya, we will contract with a geothermal expert to facilitate our technical due diligence on this particular project. This kind of contract is called a desk study. If it involves overseas travel to gather more project details, then it is called a definitional mission. These are exciting opportunities for small businesses to work with us at USTDA and have an impact that is truly global in nature. These contract opportunities are promoted on our website, as I mentioned earlier, ustda.gov, as well as on sam.gov. USTDA relies on the expertise and innovation of US small businesses. We're also committed to the principles of equity, diversity, and inclusion. This is an important formula for our success. Just consider some of our numbers. Just last year, the fiscal year 2021, USTDA awarded about 82% of the total value of our government contracts to US small businesses. Minority-owned businesses were awarded 42% of the total procurement value, and women-owned small businesses were awarded 24% of the total value. This record places us in a rarefied company among US government agencies. But still, I want to do more. We want to do more. That is why we're energizing our signature outreach program, Making Global Local, MGL. MGL brings new businesses into USTDA's ecosystem of opportunity, and it joins entities at home and abroad that might not otherwise connect. MGL seeks to benefit all US companies, especially minority-owned and socially and economically disadvantaged businesses in underrepresented communities across America. Finally, let me thank PPSI and SBA once again for providing me this opportunity for this platform. I've shared a lot of information, I realize it, and I hope it'll motivate more small businesses to reach out to us at USTDA and become part of our family. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. And again, for that information And again, to connect with USTDA, you can go to web@ustda.gov, subscribe. They are on every social media platform. So there's no way you could miss connecting with USTDA and their website. And again, we're going to bring back the ambassador during the Q&A at the end. So don't worry, there's more ways to connect. I see there's questions in the Q&A for you, Ambassador. So we're going to bring you back at the end for Q&A.
Great. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Renee.
No, thank you, sir. We're going to go next to Kate of Amazon. So thank you so much, Kate. We are coming on to you.
Thank you so much, Renee. So appreciative of the opportunity to be able to join the conference today. Because of course at Amazon, supporting small and medium-sized businesses, it's fundamental to our work, and it's an extension of the customer-centric culture that we prize here at Amazon, the store where you can find everything. And that includes finding everything from the small sellers that sell on our marketplaces. Over half of everything purchased in Amazon stores around the world are products that are sold by independent third-party sellers. And those are mostly small and medium-sized businesses. And their sales are actually growing faster than our own retail business. While the COVID-19 pandemic created certain daunting challenges for businesses everywhere, including small businesses, smaller companies have continued to grow during this period with Amazon. In fact, during the first year of the pandemic, from April 2020 to January 2021, our sellers saw a 55% year-over-year growth in sales, and we had more than 200,000 new third-party sellers join us from around the world. This represented a 45% increase over the past year, and is probably not a surprise as a lot of commerce went online in the face of the restrictions and stay-at-home orders. From September 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2021, again during that same period, the same sellers, American small business sellers, exports amounted to more than 2.2 billion in sales. That was up over 1.5 billion from the year before. So a huge increase in exports. What Amazon can do for you, Amazon allows anyone with a great product idea to start selling online to consumers and businesses around the globe, and indeed to consumers in the United States as well. We offer training on how to be new to e-commerce and then how to expand around the globe. We provide sellers with extensive guidance and training to help them learn how to list their products and begin managing and growing their business. Our new seller success team helps with a launch. They help teach how to develop a tailored plan that meets the needs of new sellers. But perhaps most importantly, what we can do is to help small businesses do what big businesses do. It takes a lot to run a small business, but partnering with Amazon allows sellers to benefit from our scale. Small businesses can focus on their own brand development and products rather than worrying about logistics, warehouses, fulfillment, customer services, regulatory challenges in new markets, customs and trade facilitation, how to just get something over the border, and all the many other sometimes exhausting aspects of business ownership. Sellers can use Amazon to reach our hundreds of millions of customers overseas and leverage our global operations, cost efficiencies, tools, and services to grow quickly. That includes customer service in many different languages, something that is often an oversight, but is really critical when you're reaching new customers around the world. Amazon has also continued to devote resources to support small and medium-sized businesses. In 2020, we invested more than $18 billion and launched over 250 new tools, trainings, and services to help our selling partners manage and grow their businesses on Amazon. We're really proud to be a part of their success. I have given the organizers some links, which I'm hoping they can distribute after the webinar today, which provide a number of resources that can help you learn how to sell on Amazon, how to learn to grow your business with us, and the other tools and trainings that we can offer. Thank you again for letting me participate, and I wish you all the greatest of luck.
Thanks, Kate. And yes, we're going to make sure everybody gets those resources, because I made an Amazon order today and it has some international items. So we want to make sure that our people, who are watching this today are able to do that and sell internationally as well. So thank you so much, Kate, for being here as well. Appreciate you. Now we're going to go to the amazing Gabe. We go to the next slide. Gabe is the Associate Administrator for the Office of International Trade. So Gabe, you are up.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, Kate. Thank you, Ambassador. This has been a great discussion, and I look forward to sharing some information with you all about the Office of International Trade at the SBA. So if we can get into the presentation, I do have a few slides. So let's just start with some anchoring context. The US does about $2.5 trillion in exports every year. This is goods and services going overseas and getting paid by foreign buyers. This represents about 10% of the US GDP. Now, next slide, how does this break down? That 2.5 trillion is split between 1.7 trillion in goods and 800 billion in services. And the reason we know the goods number so well is that the US Census Bureau, through its relationship with the Customs Bureau of the United States, gets to see every product that goes in and out of a port, whether that's on a shipping container or a package that's on an airplane going out of an airport. And so we see line item detail on that number. We have excellent data on goods. Services, on the other hand, of course, you don't necessarily see a physical product there. Therefore, the Census Bureau is getting survey-related data on this number. So this is more of an estimate, but nevertheless, this is the breakdown between goods and services within our 2.5 trillion in US exports. Next slide. Now, how does that break down between big businesses and small businesses? You can see here 68%, still the vast majority is from big businesses. But amongst the 32 million small businesses in the United States, we represent about 32% of all of this export traffic. Now, I'll tell you in addition to that, that while the manufacturing and wholesale, the product-specific history of exports is being transformed by the growth in the digital economy. So much of the information that was relevant from Kate's discussion on at least the platforms through which people are transacting, digital exports are driving the growth in this number here. And so when you think about what is a digital export, think about software as a service, think about cloud hosting of information. This is where the bulk of the growth in total US exports is coming from. Next slide. Now, what do we do in the Office of International Trade at the SBA? And this is where we can very practically be of help to you. We do three things. First, we do export counseling and technical assistance. Second, we provide grants and other trade finance solutions. And third, we help with access to foreign markets and trade policy. So let's dig into those a little bit. Next slide. On the export counseling and technical assistance standpoint, we at the SBA in our Office of International Trade have 23 export finance managers spread around the United States. These are folks that help in local markets on all things education and training related to exports. We also have an inbound trade hotline. We do a number of webinars and other education events, and we also attend many trade shows and conferences. But the work that we do to educate small businesses about exporting is amplified and multiplied by all the other partners that you see here on the right. There are other groups within the SBA, our local district offices. We also have friends and partners in the Commerce Department, the EXIM Bank, the Minority Business Development Agency of the Commerce Department. These are all other government entities. Outside of government, we work with a number of public-private partnerships, including small business development centers, SCORE mentors, and you see a couple of organizations here, the Manufacturing Association, and then there's a Bankers Association of Foreign Trade. These are all opportunities and resources for you to learn what it means to export. These can be things as simple as what customs do I have to pay? Do I need a bank account in a foreign country? Do I need a board of directors in a foreign country? What are all of the different legal ramifications? There's so many things that are just basic questions about what it means to be an exporter. And in fact, we saw during the pandemic that so many people who changed careers, left jobs, and started their own website and put up an e-commerce engine, and lo and behold, they got an order from overseas. Bingo, they're an exporter. It might be an accidental exporter, but that circumstance, again, underscores how important it is to just have some of the basic education as to what it means to export, and that's what we are here to help with. Next slide. Now, from a grants and trade finance solutions, let me start with the finance solutions. We work with private sector banks to offer term loans and working capital lines that are guaranteed by the SBA and issued and underwritten by the banks in order for small businesses to be able to finance their export activities. What you see here are the three products that private lenders offer with the guarantee of the SBA. And from left to right, Export Express is sort of that entry-level product, smaller loan sizes for companies that are really just getting started with exports. The international trade loan in the middle is a little bit more of a permanent working capital loan, so that money is available for all of the growth and development, including acquisition financing. And then lastly, we have our export working capital product. This is a traditional working capital product, but specifically focused on exports. And it really is meant to accommodate what is the unique nature of the challenges that many exporters face. That can be things including country risk, currency volatility, as well as other challenges related to the cash conversion cycle, meaning it simply takes longer for a product to be made, shipped overseas, and payment to be remitted to the original seller. And because of that, many small business exporters need extra working capital. This is our premier product. It is the bulk of our portfolio, and it is really where we see most small business exporters tending towards. Now, we do have our sister products in the capital access department of the Small Business Administration. So some of you might be familiar with SBA Express, our 7A products or 504 products, or the SBA Capline product. These are all very similar products to the ones I just described, but don't have an international or export nexus with them. The 90% guarantee that you see at the top of this slide, that is the degree to which the SBA guarantees these loans and lines of credit for private sector banks, so that they are more willing to lend to small business exporters and take that risk to support U.S. exports. Next slide. Now, again, I just mentioned we do this through a number of bank partners. You can see just a handful of them here. There are 106 different private sector lending partners that we work with. They are all federally regulated lending partners. And you'll notice as we put the pie chart on the right, that the two biggest chunks of this pie representing the industries that we served, the blue one is being wholesale trade, the red being manufacturing. Together, these represent about 85% of the loans and lines that we underwrite, heavily concentrated in manufacturing and wholesale. And so, as I described to you earlier, that the growth in the export economy is largely going to come from the digital economy, software as a service, other technology. You will start to see a transformation in this mix. And it is also incumbent upon us at the SBA to make sure that we're reaching out to that sector of the economy as well and providing our goods and services in a way that is meaningful and resonates with the digital economy. Next slide. Now, we also have something called the STEP program. This is the State Trade Expansion Program. It is a grant program. It is where the Office of International Trade provides grant money to U.S. states. And those states, in turn, reimburse small business exporters specifically, for the costs related to that export expenses that they are incurring. We do about 20 million annually to the states. And on the right, we've listed the types of reimbursable expenses that states are reimbursing. Mostly we see trade missions, so where small businesses are going overseas to drum up business, we can support a lot of the reimbursement of costs for that. There's a number of services our friends in the Commerce Department do, as well as the Ex-Im Bank, that help you find buyers overseas, as well as do research to understand the markets you want to get into. And we help support some of those expenses. Also things like website development, other marketing activities, trade show exhibitions, other training, and reverse trade missions as well, when you're inviting buyers to come visit you in the United States. Next slide. Lastly, let us know that we are working on your behalf. Not only do we work with you and work for you within the private sector lending community, but we are working on your behalf to open up access to foreign markets through our trade policy group. The trade policy group is working on advocacy for small business friendly trade policies around the world, including on tariffs and other big trade agreements. The most recent trade agreement that you're probably familiar with is the US-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. And there are others that we are working on right now, perhaps not a full-fledged free trade agreement in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, but things like this. There's also, of course, the spin out of the UK from the EU. So there's an update to some of those relationships and trade agreements. But know that this trade policy is strongly working on your behalf as we represent the voice of the small business in these discussions. There's also diplomatic relations that we do with bilateral and multinational engagements and activities. There's the Summit of the Americas that is going to be coming up shortly here in June, where President Biden will be hosting leaders from throughout the Americas, from Canada to Argentina. And we'll be doing a number of small business activities there as well. Lastly, on the outreach and education front, our trade policy group is also working on activities to address diaspora communities, underserved communities. And again, I referenced the digital marketplace as well. This is where, from a diaspora community standpoint, the example here is where there are immigrant communities, whether recently arrived, second generation, third generation, that we believe are predisposed to export back to their countries of origin because they understand the marketplace, they speak the language, they understand the culture. And so we are working on a number of diaspora-related events this year that you'll see coming out. And of course, we do everything we can to make sure historically underserved markets and underserved people have access to our goods and services just like everybody else. Next slide. All right, lastly, this is some of the ways that you can get a hold of us. Again, I mentioned we do have 23 people in the field, complemented by hundreds and hundreds of other SBA employees, commerce employees that are all there willing and able to help you understand and learn about what it means to be an exporter. But if you want to get a hold of us in our office in DC, the best way to do so is through this email, international@sba.gov. And for information on the State Trade Expansion Program, the STEP program that I just talked to you about, it's the same, sba.gov/STEP. And you can see the other things that we have available for you here, some other opportunities that you'll find sba.gov/trade tools. So we hope that you reach out to us. We are here for you. We are fighting and advocating on your behalf. And we wish you all the best in that you're doing. And we look to partner with you to grow exports around the world. Thank you so much. Renee, back to you.
Thanks, Gabriel. And I see all your questions, people. There are a lot of questions. So Gabriel, we're going to bring you back as well and try to answer a few of those questions. And just so people know, I'm going to put it out there now. Yes, this recording will be sent to you if you registered already. So you'll get a copy of this emailed to you because there's a lot of great nuggets that everyone is just dropping over here, right? So thank you so much, Gabe. We'll bring you back. We're going to talk about a quick few things before we do the Q&A portion. So we're going to talk about additional resources and information from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan, and Made in America. And then we're going to also do a few little updates you should know about COVID-19 and becoming a vaccination small business leader. So let's get into it. So first, we're going to talk about Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. As many of you know, on November 15th, President Biden signed the Infrastructure Law, which made investments in Jobs Act, which make it a historic investment of $550 billion in new funds for large infrastructure projects. This was for supply chains, broadband, and drinking water. And this, of course, is going to trickle down to making sure that we are going to see infrastructure increase within our country. And this is the largest we've ever seen since 1956. And this is like $55 billion in projects to deliver clean water, $65 billion to expand the country's broadband for accessible, reliable, and high-speed internet. And I think over COVID, we all seen that we have not had the most successful and greatest high-speed internet throughout the country, right? So this is probably great for all of us. We're probably all like, yes, thank you. 110 billion to repair and rebuild country's crumbling roads, failing bridges, with focus on climate change mitigation, resilience, equity, and safety, and then 90 billion in modernization for public transit, and make the largest investment in passenger rail since the creation of Amtrak. Let's go to that next slide. This is what we want to talk about is that how is that going to impact you as small business owners, right? Well, this is going to touch virtually every part of Main Street. The law will expand access to tens of billions of dollars to federal, state, and local governments through contracting. The U.S. Department of Transportation is going to award more than $37 billion in federal contracts to small disadvantaged businesses in contracts, right? Investments in transportation. We're going to see that it's going to also support an estimated 700,000 jobs per year. We're going to help small businesses hire new employees and reach new customers by providing, again, universal broadband. This is going to be so amazing because it's fostering the development of Main Street businesses in underserved communities by empowering the Minority Business Development Agency, which recently was codified and now a full-blown agency, which no longer needs Congress to enact it and make sure that it is continuing on every couple of years. So this is amazing and great work we're going to see for small businesses. Let's go to that next slide. So in general, and again, we're going to send this slide deck to you all so you can click on all those amazing links. But the number one resource we want to make sure everyone has is the guidebook to the bipartisan infrastructure law. And when you click on this, it's going to break down everything for you you're going to need to know that comes with the infrastructure law. And that's bill.gov if you want to go to it right now. And again, the infrastructure guidebook is bill.gov. You could also go to different government agencies and see what portion that they have with the bipartisan infrastructure law. And this is just only a fraction of them, because if you think about it, pretty much every government agency touches infrastructure. So we'll make sure, again, you have this so you can click through and look through each of these agencies and see how your business intersects with what these agencies are doing, and look for whether it's contracting or funding opportunities for your business. Let's go to that next slide. All right, the American Rescue Plan and other tax incentives. So the American Rescue Plan was passed in 2021 and also focused on small business and consumers. It supported communities that were struggling in the wake of the COVID-19. Millions of Americans, workers who reside in communities that suffered disproportionately in recent months of COVID-19. The plan provided critical support to those communities. It provided emergency grants, lending and investment to those hardest hit businesses. They wanted to make sure that we were able to see those businesses rehire, retain workers, and purchase healthcare health needs and sanitation equipment to keep their workers and employees safe. Distributed more than $360 billion in emergency funding for state, local, and territorial and tribal governments to ensure that they are in a position to keep frontline public workers on the job and paid. And then also the American Rescue Plan helped hard-hit public transit agencies avoid layoffs and service reductions, which disproportionately harm workers who are more likely to be dependent on public transportation. So the American Rescue Plan did a lot of things to help the small business community and their employees. So let's go to that next slide. So we want to talk about what kind of incentives, right, came out of it. Well, one was the ARP created the Community Navigator pilot program, which many of you probably have heard of, and maybe you are working with one of the spokes or hubs. We're going to talk about some of the American Rescue Plan tax incentives that were very exciting, that we want to make sure are extended, and then also paid family leave, which is not part of the ARP, but also something that we want to make sure people know about and are using for their businesses, for their workers. Let's go to that next slide. So Community Navigators. The Community Navigator pilot program, again, came out of the ARP, and it was designed to help reduce barriers that underrepresented and underserved entrepreneurs face in assessing programs that needed they needed to recover, grow, or start their businesses. A total of $100 million in funding to 51 organizations across the country were provided, and it was to help hundreds of local community organizations improve access to the SBA and government resources for Americans entrepreneurs. This project cover diverse communities, again, across the country, including Puerto Rico. The grantees were hubs, and they were centralized lead organizations, and they incorporated spokes, which were organizations that have built their trust in their local communities, who were the boots on the ground. And they connect with the small businesses to become those critical resources to provide assistance. And it includes like finding financial assistance and access to capital, assistance in contract and procurement, marketing operations, business development, and exporting. And it's basically making sure people who are different industries were also getting that sort of specific training that they need. And if you wanted to be able to find a navigator in your local community, you could go to the SBA website and go to locate a community navigator to find assistance through one of those partners. Let's go to that next slide. Now, the tax portion that we're going to talk about very briefly, we're going to start with the Earned Income Tax Credit, the EITC. And many people heard about this towards the end of the year. And basically, the EITC provides greater economic security for working families, and particularly those with children. It evolved into one federal government program with most critical anti-poverty programs. The ARP plan expanded the EITC, and Congress is currently deciding if this is going to be a permanent program. So it ended in December 31st, 2021. Currently today, 29 states have their own, including the District of Columbia, their own EITC program, and they are offered as percentages of the federal program. And if you want to see if your state has a program, we have a map here, but also we have that link here for you. And again, you'll be able to click on that link when we send you out this document as well. Let's go on to the next slide. Now, eligibility for it. I'm not going to go too far into this, but just letting you know that we have a toolkit on our website that you can go to ppsi.org/EITC-toolkit to learn more about those intricacies about if you're eligible, how to figure out your eligibility as well. Let's go on to that next slide. We can go on to the next slide because this is just more resources for you as an employer. So child tax credit. The American Rescue Plan signed into law by President Biden expanded the child tax credit for 2021 to get more help to families, right? So it increased the credit for up to $2,000 per qualifying child in 2020 to up to $3,600 for each qualifying child under the age of 6. And then subsequently, it did the same for each different qualification for child, right? So again, if the child is 17 years old, eligible for up to $3,000 in credit, right? To get more money to families sooner, the IRS began sending the first ever monthly payments up to the half of the amount you usually seek, right? And that started in 2021. Advanced payments went to families, and it was over 61 million children from July to December of 2021. And to learn more about this child tax credit, you can go to childtaxcredit.gov as well. We can go on to the next slide. And this is just more of a breakdown about the refund, who is eligible, about the amounts, and then how you can find out more about who is specifically allotted and eligible to receive what types of funds and the amounts as well. So again, we're going to send the slide deck out to you. Next slide, please. And why have monthly child tax credit payments stopped? Well, the American Rescue Plan increased the child tax credit, like we said before. It also provided monthly payments to, through that duration. It is currently proposed to extend the enhanced child tax credit, including monthly payments for at least through the end of this year, families will receive the entire 2021 child tax credit that they are eligible for when they file their 2022 taxes. However, continuing enhanced benefits and monthly payments would require new legislation to be passed this year. So to learn more about that, again, I can't stress, go to childtaxcredit.gov. And you can learn more about that specifically in your need as a small business owner or employee. We're going to go on to the next slide. And then here are some more resources that you can go to, click through. There are some in Spanish as well. And then also some resources to learn how you can figure out your eligibility. Let's go to the next slide. So the paid family leave incentive. Under this program, employers can offer up to 12 weeks of paid family leave, and the leave can be used for either to take care of a family member, maternity or paternity leave with a biological or adopted child. In exchange for offering the leave, employers will receive as much as 25% tax credit for the amount of wages replaced. This policy is targeted to hourly employees who would not otherwise have access to paid family leave. Employees who participate cannot make more than $72,000 per year. Next slide, please. And here are some additional resources about how you can learn more about the paid family leave, and also a press release about how the paid family leave works with the Department of Treasury. Now let's go on to that next slide. Now we're going to talk about Made in America, and we're not talking about the festival. We're talking about products for small business owners. So in January of 2021, the Made in America office was codified by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and has already helped so many agencies implement Made in America requirements. It established a requirement for agencies to submit proposed waivers for review. And this directed the creation of a new website for public transparency. And so we have a link here where you can go to and actually learn more about that and see who is on that list. And now if you want to do business with the US government for a Made in America, you would need to become a federal contractor, be registered in SAMS, and then also you could go to the GSA website to figure out which agencies you can connect with as well. Now, don't forget, you can go to madeinamerica.gov to learn more about this office, the transparency, and how your business can be eligible for this. And with that, we're going to go on to the next slide. We're going to talk about now updates you should know about COVID-19 and becoming a vaccination small business leader. So I know everybody is like, well, what's happening now? We're almost 3 years here. But since the first, 5 waves of the pandemic since 2020, in the past 3 years, there's been new variants, there's been new, steps that we've been needing to take. But one thing that we should all know is that there is always a website you can go to, and it's the whitehouse.gov/COVID plan. And when you go to this website, you can see that there's different links right here that you can always click on and find access to information. You can learn about how to protect against and treat COVID-19, prepare for new variants, and prevent economic and educational shutdowns. And then also learn about what's going on in the world of vaccines. Let's go on to the next slide. And then what can you do as a small business leader? You can make sure that you're vaccinated and get your booster shot. If you're already vaccinated, encourage your employees, family, friends, and neighbors to get vaccinated. Create a plan for your business, let people know, review state and local policies, seek legal advice. Check out the tax credits, see if they're eligible for you, and if they work for your business needs. Keep your employees appraised of all the updates, vaccine eligibility, and where to register, right? If you live in an area disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, check out some resources here and we'll make sure you have that link. And then also make sure that you tell your employees to follow this plan both in writing and verbally. And then continue to follow the CDC for guidelines, whether to wear masks, social distance, and the vaccination. And again, we have additional resources for you. And again, go to whitehouse.gov/COVID plan. And with that, I'm excited to bring back our special guest about international trade, Vinay and the ambassador, and Gabrielle. All right, guys, we're so happy to have you back. So we have a couple questions, and I know we are short, almost on time, but we're going to try to pump through a couple of them. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
All right. So we'll start with the ambassador. In your remarks, you discussed USTDA's overseas projects preparation work. But I understand that USTDA also supports partnership building activities. Would you mind explaining what those look like?
Sure, I'll keep it brief. USTDA supports many activities that link US companies to overseas decision makers, which includes buyers who want US solutions to their infrastructure needs. We host numerous events and workshops throughout the year, and all US companies are invited to participate. These events have been virtual over the past 2 years because of the pandemic, but we are beginning to build a strong pipeline of in-person events for later this year. These will be a great opportunity to meet vetted buyers and potential overseas business partners, as well as other US companies that can help you build your business. USTDA also funds what we call reverse trade missions, RTMs, where we bring overseas decision makers, again, including buyers, to the United States to introduce them to US solutions for their infrastructure needs. Once these resume later this year, US companies will be able to meet these in person, decision makers and introduce them to their capabilities, products, services, what have you. Our delegations often visit US companies, their manufacturing facilities, and locations where their technology is on display. These visits allow USTDA to bring overseas business opportunities to the doorstep of US companies, both large and small. Any US company can sign up to participate in our events. Our website, again, ustda.gov, has an events page where you will find event registration links. I also strongly recommend that people sign up for our weekly news roundup. In it, we profile USTDA's latest events, RFPs, and press releases. It's a great way to stay on top of what we are doing. The front page of our website has a link to where you can subscribe to USTDA's weekly updates. I just wanted to be brief, so I know I said a lot of things. So thank you for this. Thank you for the question, Renee.
No, thank you, Ambassador. Gabe, is there a cost or registration process to use this resource? I've seen a lot of people like, this sounds amazing. How do I get involved? How can I connect with you in your office at OIT?
Right, so I'll remind everybody that the international@sba.gov is the email address to get in touch with us. I'll also give you a phone number, which we can paste it into the Q&A, I believe, but I'll give it to you verbally here, 855-722-4877. Again, 855-722-4877. That is the hotline in the Office of International Trade, where we'll answer the phone or answer your voicemail and get back in touch with any of these questions that you might have. Thank you, Jessica. And but in terms of how much does it cost, right? So the services of the SBA, the Office of International Trade, all the things that I described earlier in my discussion, they do not cost anything, right? So what we do is provide the training and development at no cost. If you, of course, are going to take out a loan or a line of credit, any fees that might be associated with that, as they do in the private marketplace, are subject to whatever relationship you have with your bank. But the SBA itself is not charging anything. And then, of course, all the work that we do to promote trade policy, we do that on your behalf as well. I will say that a lot of what we do is also referrals to other parts of the federal government. And in terms of the questions that I've seen relative to help me find a buyer, There's a lot of work, not only that the ambassador described, that his agency does. Our friends in the Commerce Department generally do some version of that kind of work. Sometimes there's a fee associated with that, depending on how deeply they get involved. But at least for us in the SBA, Office of International Trade, no costs.
Wow, that's a great bargain for both agencies to know that. So thank you all for that work. I know we are at time, so I'm going to just ask you both one last question. Ambassador, from a program perspective, what will USTDA be focused on in the year to come?
Once again, I'll try to be brief. B3W comes to mind immediately. Last June, the President Biden, the leaders of the G7 countries launched Build Back Better World Partnership. This partnership, which is called B3W, was created to help meet the tremendous infrastructure needs of low and middle income countries. By some estimates, can you believe this? $40 trillion is what they are talking about, is what it's needed to fund these infrastructure projects overseas. Under B3W, USTDA will place particular emphasis on project preparation activities that help mobilize private sector capital in critical areas such as climate, health and health security, and digital technology. Foreign policy for the middle class is number 2 on my list. This time last year, President Biden issued a memorandum on revitalizing America's foreign policy. It stated that we need a foreign policy agenda that focuses on benefiting the American middle class. This is exactly what USTDA was created to do 30 years ago. It is something that we do extremely well and will continue to do so. As I mentioned earlier, USTDA now generates an average of $117 in US exports for every dollar that we program. And we've supported over $76 billion in US exports. And a unique brand of foreign assistance is helping US companies create good paying jobs right here in American heartland and middle class. Last but not least, climate comes to mind. On top of all this, perhaps our top priority for the for the foreseeable future will be climate. The Biden-Harris administration has elevated climate change as a core tenet of its foreign policy. Agencies like us, USTDA, have been tasked by the president to work in emerging markets around the world to help our partners adapt and to manage the impacts of climate change. At last year's Leaders Summit on Climate, President Biden launched USTDA's Global Partnership for Climate Smart Infrastructure. Under this initiative, USTDA is bringing together US industry and government partners to deliver clean energy and transportation solutions across the globe. Under the partnership, USTDA has committed a whopping $60 million in programming through 2023 to tackle the climate crisis overseas while supporting good paying jobs right here at home. Last year alone, USTDA's activities were designed to introduce more than $5 billion in US clean technology exports to emerging markets globally. When we launched our initiative, the president said one thing: nations that work together to invest in the cleaner economy will reap rewards for their citizens. He also referred to USTDA's work as, quote unquote, the sort of partnerships that are going to be good for all of us. Ultimately, that's our mission, that's our goal, and that's the foundation of our work as an agency. Thanks so much, Renee.
No, thank you, Ambassador. And Gabe, same question, from a program perspective, what will OIT be focused on in the years to come?
We, of course, want to be assisting all U.S. exporters in bouncing back resiliently from the pandemic, providing the tools and training that we talked about, but of course, wanting to make sure that we also diversify and recognize that the export economy is more than just manufacturing and wholesale. Right? There was a question in the chat about retail. Yes, of course, retail is in there, digital. The service economy is going to be much more robust from an export standpoint. And so we want to make sure that our products and services address all of that. Similarly, in our STEP, State Trade Expansion Program, we want to make sure that we're supporting and reimbursing as many small businesses. And in fact, I will tell you, as I saw one question in the Q&A about, I raised my hand in the state of New Jersey for some reimbursement for my export-related costs, and they'd run out of money. Well, we are just about to issue the new year's worth of grants. And so states will be shortly refreshing their pot of money to reimburse local exporters. But we want to make sure that the line of exporters out the door of the given states is hundreds, if not thousands long, and that every single one of those dollars is being leveraged to promote U.S. exports. So those types of things. And of course, lastly, making sure that the underserved community, new to export communities, these folks are all having the opportunity to take advantage of our services, and we are doing what we can to support them in their export endeavors as well.
Wow. Well, thank you both for all the work you and your teams do to help small businesses. And again, I'm going to coin the term from USTDA, making global local. You guys do so much, and we thank you both for being here. We thank Kate as well from Amazon. Just thank you all so much for all you do. And we'll make sure everyone has information on how to connect with you all, because there's so much excitement in the Q&A. So we'll make sure we also connect you all with those questions too, so that you guys can see that as well. But thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Renee.
And with that, we want to thank all of you for joining us today to talk about international trade. And we will be back in 2 weeks. So that is going to be April 6th, I believe. Maybe I think it's the 13th or 12th. Or 13th, I don't know. I think it's the 13th, April 13th. But we want to thank you all. And if you have any questions, please feel free, that are general, of course, please feel free to email answerdesk@sba.gov. And if you have a question about a copy of this webinar, please feel free to contact events@publicprivatestrategies.com. And with that, we will say goodbye. And again, thank you so much for joining us. A copy of this will be posted on Facebook to the SBA and Public-Private Strategies pages, and we will be emailing a copy of this and of the presentation to you all for those who've registered. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. Bye.